Good. All right, let's get right into this video. I need you to understand a couple of basic things before I really get deep into this video. And I'm just closing out some of the programs on my computer so we have full internet capacity. This is a live video. And what I'm going to be talking about in this video is something that many of you will think is absolutely ridiculous. Doesn't make sense. There's no way. How could you, etc. But the more I talk and explain the logic as to what President Trump will likely do going forward with Social Security benefits, the more it will make sense and your brain will immediately have something that it can't let go of. I say this to you because when I was sitting there trying to imagine, I was literally Donald Trump. I was trying to think, if I were Donald Trump and I came and I was from the 80s and the 90s and the 70s, and I was the CEO, this masterful CEO, right, to make money, even though, let's call it like it is, he's had quite a few flops, but all business people do. Like, if you've never been an owner, you don't realize there's lots of companies that never make it. You'll start, let's say 10 companies, you probably get 4 or 5 of them off the ground if you're very, very lucky, but only 1 or 2 of them will actually be highly successful. So I sat there and I tried to imagine, if I were Donald Trump, based off of what he said previously about Social Security benefits, what direction would he take Congress going forward to fix Social Security benefits? Because remember, there's technically 3 tiers, right? There's the Social Security Administration that makes rules and laws, and then they came out that Supreme Court claim about what types of laws and rules they can create. But bottom line is the SSA will issue SSRs, Social Security rulings. Then you have above the SSA, the District Circuit and Federal Supreme Court. They will create case law, which creates rules. And then you have Congress. Congress will go ahead and basically create the foundational rules for this entire system. They hold the purse strings, and the purse strings are important because that's where the money comes from to make this whole thing happen. Now, Trump knows that there are 4 main people to blame when it comes to a lack of Social Security benefits being fixed so that it just works the way it's supposed to work. People like Trump come from the world of, how do we make the program work like it's supposed to work? Right? He's a create a system, profit off it kind of guy. In order to profit off a system, it's got to work properly. In order for it to work properly, you got to do 2 things. You got to decrease costs, increase revenue. But yet, when you look at Congress and you look at the stalemate they've created, where it literally took electing President Trump to force the Democrats to pass the Social Security Fairness Act. And I say that not lightly. It literally took the fear of the Democratic Party with the bolstering of the Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, to push forward a bill to Biden, who then slow rolled it and then agreed to get everybody together on January 6th, the next year, to actually sign this thing into law. This all occurred because the Democrats needed to win against the Republicans, because the Republicans whooped the Democrats. They got the House, they got the Senate, they got the White House, right? They got the Oval Office. So the bottom line was the Democrats said, cool, we're going to slow roll this thing coming out. We're going to pass it on the official day, January 6th, of when Congress will go ahead and certify the results for the election. That way the attention swings to the Democrats, not to Trump's big day. So what I started to realize with this is I had to sit back and I said, hey, okay, we can't think about this like Commissioner Keisha Causey would, right? We can't think about it like that. She comes from the background of somebody who is, in the system, nonprofit mentality. We're working to slowly help the system become better through small changes of what we can afford as something that doesn't make enough money to do big changes. We can't have that mentality. Then I started to think about it. How would Commissioner Saul fix this? And I started to realize he would just be too aggressive, too thrashing, throw money here, throw money there, see what we can do, but really make it pro-agency to decrease the amount of people who would apply for benefits. I thought, no, that's going to be unpopular. Trump can't go that method. Then I thought about the whole system with Martin O'Malley, Commissioner Martin O'Malley. Would Trump model his logic of how to fix the Social Security Administration after Martin O'Malley, which is pay more to the administration so the administration can have better customer service with the people, which will then fix the issue with phone calls taking forever, et cetera, and then find a way to tax the rich to pay for everything. I thought, no, that's a Democrat's way of fixing this. How would a super CEO, Trump, go ahead and fix this? Well, he knows that there's 4 main groups that screw up Social Security benefits. There's four main groups. Group number one is the rich. The rich don't want to be taxed more, so they will pay money to put politicians in who basically will not pass Social Security change so that they don't get taxed more. Because if you start taxing them more, and you start taxing them on all of their income as 17% FICA taxes, then at that point, what you end up with is a lot of very, very expensive taxes on behalf of the rich. Although the rich tend to obviously borrow money and then, not actually make money. It's all a borrowing game. So the bottom line is this: the rich don't want a huge, big extra tax. So the whole Democrat promotion of, we're going to pass the Social Security Fairness Act. Well, we're going to do this. Well, we're going to tax the rich into this greatness that we want. Which, by the way, just you can't tax the middle class into greatness. You can't tax the rich into greatness. It doesn't work that way. So the problem we face is the rich will stack Congress with whoever they want to put in office so that those extra taxes won't get passed. Cool. Group number two, that's a problem. Pharmaceutical companies. Pharmaceutical companies have very expensive drugs that cost Medicare millions and billions and ultimately trillions of dollars. Also, the pharmaceutical companies have the emphasis of keeping people on a repetitive medical treatment. They're not there to cure things. The only time a cure comes out is when a smaller company finds a cure and then they're about to come out with it, and then magically the bigger company comes out with an even better cure. So the point is, with pharmaceuticals, they are there to suckle off the taxes paid in by the American people as a social net to fix those who become sick, but not really fix them. Just get them on a line where they exist. Can't work, can't do stuff, but just get them on a line where they can basically exist. Then you have group number three, that's the problem, the politicians. The politicians, to be fair, are a bunch of people paid for and placed by the rich. That's how it works. A lot of people think that they vote for this person or that person, or this is what's really going on or that going on. If you look at the psychology of how the herd brain works with Americans, with our culture, with human beings in general, what you learn is that people have a preference specifically for what's known. They will go ahead and continue to pick the known option because the unknown option is too scary. There's too many things that could potentially go wrong. They have no history with it. And basically they pick the thing where they know A plus B equals C, as opposed to going with E plus whatever, Z equals some unknown. Maybe it's good. In theory, it could be good. Hey, right? So the bottom line here is that the politicians we tend to vote in have name that is common to our understanding. We know their name. We've heard it many times before. We like them as a result of that. Now, do our politicians do a significant amount of work? They show up to a lot of events. They wave and they shake a lot of hands. But at the end of the day, does somebody with a shovel, right, moving dirt, somebody with a broom, right, or a mop, moving things on the floor, I would say the blue-collar worker usually does more work than a politician. Now, with that said, why is this the way it is? Well, politicians, we see them in their suit and they look nice and they're this and they're that, and they show up to these fancy buildings, these fancy rooms, and they're voting things through, right? So the House of Reps, they're doing the new Congress right now. They're all piling into this big room, fancy situation. We expect that from them. But at the end of the day, the politicians are put in place by people who have big bucks, who psychologically have evaluated the human race and how American culture is in order to get you to circle and fill in a dot on a piece of paper to that rich person's liking. General group number 4, that's a problem. The general public. The general public is the problem. We consistently do not boycott things that are not good for us. So that are problematic for us. So what happens is this. You will see a product, right? The product is not good for people, but we're sold on advertising on it. Let's call it like it is. A lot of Coca-Cola products aren't good for you. They have some that are, right? But the ones that aren't, man, they're pumping that Christmas music with the Christmas bears, with the polar bears, and the this and the that and the this. And there comes the train. Where's the Clydesdales? And here we go. They have found a way into the brain of the American by manipulating their religion, by manipulating their origin story, how they were growing up, all of those things. So the point that I'm getting at is we have been taught to purchase certain things, and we are intelligent enough to recognize it, but we are not intelligent enough to get out of the culture of purchasing it, which is what you do when you pick, a politician. You are purchasing a politician to do a particular job. So Trump realizes this. He knows that the four main people that are the problem are the rich, the pharmaceuticals, the politicians, and the public. Those are the problem people. A lot of you will say, oh, well, the SSA employees are not fast enough, or they don't work hard enough, or they're at home too much, and yada, yada. Yes, but that is a small model corporate problem that you can fix. Whereas these groups are just mass manipulation. The rich put in the politicians, the pharmaceuticals, reap the most benefit from people's health, and think about it, we don't know what diseases have cures that are sitting in a lab. That's all hidden from us. It's all protected information. And then, of course, the general public keeps buying in, because if you give them 4 options and 3 of them are terrible and 1 of them is only good, then you will go with that one option. Trump knows this. So the only way to deal with that is to boycott them. But how do you boycott the rich? They don't need you. They don't. How do you boycott the pharmaceuticals? You might need that drug. You might need to use it to medically get better. How do you boycott the politicians? Well, you cannot vote for them, but everybody else is so delirious with the name, and they know the name, and they like the name, and I'm going to go with the name, that they keep voting for the person. So the bottom line is, the general public in and of itself is the underlying problem for this entire equation as to why Social Security benefits can't get fixed, which means you can't use the general public to vote in good politicians. You can't. There's just no way to do it. It's not going to work. So what happens, right, when we look at this and we think about it from Trump's perspective? Trump has the big problem of getting the economy back on track, which he'll do. He'll do that, right? He'll get the petrodollar going. He'll reinstate the reserve currency in mass population and use all over the globe. He'll get it going. The bottom line is this. Trump has to sit there and say, where is the money going to come from to pay for this? Now, he's made comments like, drill, baby, drill, right? I'm going to drill, baby, drill. I'm going to go ahead and raise money, and that's going to go ahead and be able to be paid into basically fixing the Social Security system. Americans will be so prosperous that they will be able to afford their retirements with actual dignity. But how do you do it? And this is the part where I'm going to say something. And to be fair, you're going to think I'm crazy, which I'm okay with too. It is what it is. So you know how to fix a failing company. You decrease cost, increase profitability, right? That's the 2 big things. That's why he's putting Commissioner Frank, well, maybe, if the Senate, everybody's on board, Commissioner Frank Bisignano, right? He was the super CEO of payment system plans. So how do you do that? You significantly decrease the amount of employees needed to process payments at the SSA, which makes the SSA more efficient because you're using more hyper-automated technology. Cool, you got that. But now you have to make it profitable. So how the hell do you make this thing profitable? How the hell do you make this thing profitable? And I want you to actually take a moment before I tell you what I think he's going to do. I want you to take a moment and envision in your brain you are Trump. Imagine it. And I know some of you will say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to consider myself there. I don't want to be in that place. Yada, yada, yada. I want you to take a moment and envision you are Donald Trump. How would you go ahead and pay for Social Security benefits? Well, it's very simple. It's extremely simple. You have to tax the politicians. What do I mean? In order to pay for Social Security, you have to tax the taxes, so that the politicians, every time that they spend money, a portion of that money has to go to Social Security benefits, to pay for the agency, to pay for the trust funds, to continue to build the money up so that it's safe going into the future. I know that sounds insane. I understand it. I get it. But give me a moment to explain it to you, because if you understand why, and I know, okay, cool, Star Fury said makes sense. Okay, cool. So we got one person on board with this idea. If you tax the politicians, it's kind of like a tariff for other countries, right? You're taxing them to bring a product in, except with the politicians, you're taxing them to spend money. So every time they got to go ahead and spend money on the DOJ or the DOD or the whatever, or this or that or whatever, they have to take a small percentage of that and pay it into Social Security benefits. So the idea is, if you tax the politicians, they won't be able to spend as freely because they'll know that they're getting taxed just like Americans. Now imagine, and I know this is insane. I know, I get it. But once now I'm seeing it. It does make sense. That makes sense. Good. Okay. So the idea is, how do you go ahead and do this? So Trump would say, we got to drill, baby, drill, right? That's the whole idea here. We're going to drill, baby, drill. Okay. Let's say you drilled. You got lots of oil coming in. You become your own reserve, right? You're using all the oil that you create, and then you got extra oil, and you're selling it to other countries. Well, that doesn't inherently restock the trust funds. It just makes the dollar stronger so that when retired people, disabled people, the fragile class of people, when they get their check, it's worth more to be able to purchase more. Because remember, a dollar isn't actually worth anything. It's just a piece of paper. It only gains value when you transact it to actually get something of value. So if you buy a chicken wing or a chicken, or whatever, or whatever you buy, that chicken wing is worth something. The dollar isn't. But when you trade it, that dollar gains its value. It becomes valuable. So the point here is this. Just having a good oil petrodollar going on ain't going to fix this. But what will fix this is if you tax the politicians so that every time they have to refill or spend money on a new program, a portion of that comes from a portion of that goes into the Social Security Administration to go ahead and fix the trust fund problem, fix the administering problem, etc. Now, let me say something to you. You guys know with the Department of Defense, when they go ahead and get to the end of the year, all of a sudden you're seeing ridiculous purchases. They're purchasing all kinds of, torpedoes and missiles and, satellite this and special metal that. They're doing that because they've got to spend what they've got to request for the next year that they need more, because if they don't spend it all, they can't ask for more because then they didn't use up all the budget. So the gig is this. Every time a politician has to spend money, right? Okay, we have to fund this group. There should be a tax on that. And then there should be a bigger tax on that for any additional monies that they're paying on top of what they paid the prior year. So a two-step system. Step one, you tax the money spent for other agencies. And then if you have to give them more money, you tax that at a higher rate. So again, I know it sounds insane, but if I were Trump and I sat there and I was just like, how does this guy work in his brain? You tax the politicians. How do you slow down people from getting more shit, right? Let's think about that. Standard of living. You have an average American, they have a standard of living. If you tax them, their standard of living decreases because they don't have as much money. The same thing applies to politicians when it comes to their spending. If they want to go ahead and spend this much on Ukraine, they can't, because this much taxation will come out of it if they spend it on a foreign nation. And you could do whatever you want with this. You could literally make any money spent on a foreign nation be taxed for Social Security benefits. So the whole idea is that any money that we send anywhere subsidizes Social Security benefits by doing what the United States government does literally best, taxing people. I know this sounds insane, but to be clear, this is how I see Trump fixing this problem. So just to summarize, and then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to do a short other video after this. Just to summarize, Trump has to figure out how to get us out of the loop. The loop is the rich basically put in bad politicians for us so that they don't get taxed more. The politicians sit there and agree together not to go ahead and pass certain legislation. The pharmaceutical companies vacuum the Medicare funds and the trust funds so that they can collect as much money as they can while just making people not cured, but continue as they are. And then the general public basically keeps voting in people who have the same name that they are used to, because they like picking people that are the same name that they are used to because they trust it. It's a product. You could pick Trump as a product. Bernie Sanders is a product. Schumer's a product. They're all products. Each one of them, their name, it's a product. We buy that politician when we vote for them, when we fill in the little circle. How do you fix Social Security benefits using the Trump method? If we go by what he said and we think about what he means by that, he is going to literally tax the politicians, not personally, but in their capacity as a federal employee distributing money to other agencies. So what I'm saying is other agencies, other countries will get taxed to receive money. And then if we're giving them more on top of something, that should be even more. Like if they're getting more than the prior year, that extra should be taxed even more. Okay? I know this sounds insane. I know it's crazy, but frankly, that's the only way I can see him doing what he wants to do, because just drilling and having a profitable nation doesn't fix this. But remember, he wasn't a president that like completely got rid of taxes. I mean, he went wahoo on those tariffs, and then Biden continued with them because they were so profitable. But the bottom line is Trump went full wahoo, yeehaw, get her done when it comes to those tariffs. So he is not afraid to tax entities. And so if he taxes the politicians with every time that they go to spend money, he can fix the Social Security program and hyperfund it and even lessen the ultimate final retirement age. So instead of having to be 67 looking at 69, they could actually have Americans retire even earlier by having this country be what it's meant to be, which is a pro-American country. I know some of you like wars overseas that America partakes in. I know some of you guys like to have America be the ultimate, take care of everybody country. We're not in that position. We're 36 trillion in debt. We're not in that. We're not good ourselves. We're sick. We're sick as a country. We're sick because our politicians are spending beyond our means. The politicians, their standard of living is up here. It needs to be down here. If you tax the politicians' spending, you can fix Social Security benefits. That, I believe, is what his plan is. All right. Anyway, so with that said, Attorney Walter Hnot, I'm going to have another video in about 10, 15 minutes. I got to take a little break because my throat is a little bit sore. But please remember to like, subscribe, and leave a review. If you go to Google, you type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida, throw some stars up there. Also, I go live on Mondays and Thursdays. And if you want to do a private session where I walk you through, get you kind of a plan to deal with the problem, mini contract is below. I will catch you all a little bit later. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll see you in about 10 to 15 minutes. I haven't uploaded the video yet, but it will be in probably about 10 minutes. All right, catch you guys later. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. All right, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.